Welcome back to Devil May Cry. Last time we beat Nightmare for the final time, so he's not going to be appearing again, or rather, it's not going to be appearing again. And we also made it into this weird underworld looking thing that I don't actually think is the underworld, but whatever. It's Mundus's, I guess, hideout. Anyway, we need to do a little platforming here in order to get to that switch and attack it so we can open up some stuff. The water doesn't actually hurt you or anything like that. You can touch it and it'll be fine. So fall down if you need to, if you want to, if it makes things easier for you. Of course, I'm going to do that because stinger jumping is just so dang fun. It's like long jumping in Mario games. It gets you so much distance in such a short amount of time, but I keep screwing it up. Anyway, now that we've opened this door thing, we can head on through and go to a pretty annoying section in this game that is not the way you're supposed to go, Dante. I would recommend having the shotgun equipped here because the enemies and obstacles are very weak to the shotgun. Also, do not go right on this path. Right is the wrong way. There's nothing back there for you. Nothing useful at all. In fact, you'll probably die if you go in that direction, so don't. We have another one of these enemies, and constantly stingering it is not the method that I recommended, but apparently it did really well. Only in Devil Trigger, I think, though. Otherwise, it won't get knocked back. And here's what I was talking about before. Just keep using the shotgun as you jump over it while it's in its larger form. Once it gets back down to its smaller form, you can attack it with your sword, and it won't be as much of a big deal. It doesn't have the same attacks. There's this one attack that it uses where it kicks off of you while in its larger form, and it's a really, really annoying attack to deal with. Also, don't stand still in this area. If you do for long enough, then some weird goop will appear at your feet, and that's pretty much a warning, because the goop will then generate this weird lever looking thing from The Legend of Zelda that will do some damage to you. I don't think it's much, but still, you don't want to be taking damage at all. You want to survive, get through to the end so you can fight and beat Mundus. Have I been calling him Mundus this whole time? I probably have. I apologize for that. My first encounter with the Devil May Cry series was actually DMC Devil May Cry, so I kind of got Mundus stuck in my head, even though this is the original game where he came from and his name was Mundus. It is a bit late to be coming to that realization, but better late than never, I guess. These weird slimy things, I don't think I mentioned it, but they sap your health, and that's actually what was down the other path that I decided not to take. There's a bunch of them at the end, and even with the shotgun, if you head back there, you're going to be taking a lot of damage that you don't need to, which very much sucks. So don't go down that path. Really, really don't go down that path. Luckily, thanks to my strat, all these little dudes, while these big dudes that I turn into little dudes are really easy. There's some of those spindly things around the back of the rooms that you get locked into, but as long as you stay near the entrance, then you're not really having much of a hassle. If they do go near the spindly things, don't chase them. Well, he did the kick attack. I didn't think he used it, but keep a good distance from the exit of the room while fighting. You don't want to take extra damage on top of the damage you may already be taking from the enemy. And now that we've defeated him, we can head into the next room with this weird green goopy stuff going on. I don't know why this place looks so... Well, is organic the word? It looks like organs, so I guess it is. We got more of these bat things, and I'm not using Ifrit for these guys, but it still does a good amount of damage doing the shotgun at close range with Alistair's Devil Trigger, so I guess they're not resistant to electricity, so that's fine. The lava will hurt you if you fall into it, so don't. I was able to get those orbs because I had air hike and I could kind of dip my toes into the lava without actually touching it, and then air hike back out before it could do any real damage to me. This thing right here is essentially the same as those bird statues that we found, where if you attack it a bunch of times, then you'll get some orbs out of it. Honestly, they're not very lucrative. Like, they might give you 100, but things in this game cost over 1,000 a bunch of the time. Over 500 for, I think, the cheapest thing that I can get right now. There's a move that I didn't buy for Ifrit, which isn't really a move, it's more of an enhancement. I think it was called Rolling Blaze or something like that. Basically a jumping attack, where if you have Ifrit equipped and you press the jump button, instead of just jumping like usual, Dante will instead kind of trail fire behind him in such a way that if you come into contact with enemies while performing the jump, then Dante will hurt them. I don't think it does that much damage. I don't think it's really that useful, so I don't use it. And now that we've flicked that switch, or styled on that switch, I guess, we can enter the final room, kind of. There's a bit more after Mundus here, but I'll save that for after we actually beat him. And I got a B. I'm getting up in the world from, you know, the all C's that I had previously. It's time for the legendary battle, and because this is the end of the game, we have to sit through a few cutscene things, so enjoy those. This is a pretty cool looking place though. A church, I guess. Mundus trying to overcompensate, make himself look like a god, I guess. Or an angel, maybe. I don't know if that's how irony works, but whatever. Irony's, well, I don't want to get into a discussion about irony. That's a pretty bad tangent to go into. And Trish is not shackled up there. She's just kind of hanging there. But I don't think Dante can see that she's unshackled from where he is. So, I can see this being believable. Especially considering what happens after Dante's about to get killed here. Because due to the shackles not being actually closed, Trish doesn't need to use any fancy moves to try and get out of them or anything. Maybe electrocute them so much that they melt or anything like that. No, she just has to jump toward him, give him a little shove, and take the attack herself. Yeah, Trish kind of sacrifices herself, and that makes Dante a sad boy. Apparently Trish kind of grew feelings for Dante, I guess. I don't think feelings of love, really, but more so regret, I guess, for acting a villain toward Dante. And with Trish's death, question mark, Dante gets a little bit of a boost in his power. As you might have seen right there, his eyes kind of glue red. He was able to reflect Mundus's little zappy attack. And look at this, a pre-rendered cutscene. You can tell because I'm playing the HD version and the sides are cut off. So yeah. We get to kind of see Mundus's true form. I gotta stop that. And again, kind of looks like a god. He now has a beard, which makes him a bit more godlike than the previous form he took, I think. I don't know. Usually Zeus or whatever, Jesus' papa, has a beard when he's depicted in art or whatever. And because Dante became so angry and awakened the devil inside, he gets a few new perks. For example, he has subtitles. Like, why couldn't you do this for the entirety of the game? His voice isn't even distorted or anything like that, to the point where we can't hear him like with the enemies in the game. So why give him subtitles now, all of a sudden? It's so weird and dumb, but whatever. I'll just chalk it up to him having Sparda's Devil Trigger or something like that. With Sparda's Devil Trigger, we get Air Raid. We can fly. So that's pretty cool. And we also get a shmup section. Well, I'm not sure if this is actually what would be considered a shmup. Is Star Fox considered a shmup? It probably is. Anyway, yeah, we're kind of playing Star Fox right now. You play as Devil Trigger Dante. You shoot little runes at Mundus. Oh my god. You dodge his attacks. You try to get your Devil Trigger up. And once it's full, you press the Devil Trigger button, and rather than activating or deactivating it as usual, you send out a big dragon thing to do a good amount of damage to Mundus here. The reason you shoot Mundus is essentially to get your Devil Trigger up to the point where you can send out that dragon. And obviously, the more runes you have, the more powerful it is, the shorter this boss fight will probably be. You need to shoot those orbs that are surrounding him first in order to actually start doing damage to Mundus. Gosh. And actually get your Devil Trigger up. That laser attack, he sends it one of two ways, either straight vertical or straight horizontal. And the vertical version, you just move to the left or right. For the horizontal version, you move up or down. A sucky thing about this fight here is that the controls are inverted vertically. So when I press down, I go up, and when I press up, I go down. And I can see people kind of liking that for something like Star Fox, because when you think about it, the back of the ship is going down, so it makes sense for the tip of the ship to go up, and thus the rest of the ship to go up when you press down. And when you press up, same thing, the back of the ship goes up, so technically the front of the ship is going down. For this here, Dante is just a person, and he has like weird fume things kind of coming out of his back that kind of look like he's wearing rockets on his back or something. But I don't think this should have been inverted. I think it should have been normal. Either way though, once we take down Mundus's health bar, I gotta catch myself, we actually go into a second phase of the boss fight where Dante's Devil Trigger kind of runs out, and we need to take on Mundus mano a mano. Although we kind of, well, one-on-one. Well, no, it was also one-on-one previously. We need to actually fight him head-on rather than using weird projectile stuff. And here, we get access to the Sparda Devil Trigger for real. And Sparda gets air hike for some reason. Either way though, the Sparda Devil Trigger gives you a big, weird, not really lightsaber kind of thing, but the range of the Sparda has increased dramatically and its power is through the roof. I'm going to use a Devil Star here just so I could keep my Devil Trigger up. If you notice, the menu also reflected the fact that we're using Sparda now. But this is really easy if you just decide to use a Devil Star. If you don't have any, or if you don't want to use any, those orbs that Mundus sends out will actually refill your Devil Trigger if you attack them. So that's a good way to get your Devil Trigger back up. You can also shoot Mundus, I guess, with your guns, and that could get it up as well, but it's not really all that lucrative, in my opinion. Using the orbs and Devil Stars is the best way to do it. You could also probably use Devil Stars in the shoot 'em up part, because once you use it, you'll refill your Devil Trigger. You'll be able to shoot a dragon that does full damage. basically, you can shoot a bunch of dragons one after the other is what I'm trying to say. And I probably did have enough to take down Mundus. At least maybe if I didn't use the one that I did in Nightmare's boss fight. And here we go. There's the line that everybody talks about in this game. You got, I don't know what it is with the guy in red holding a girl and also using swords and saying really lame lines badly. I am of course referencing Zero from Capcom's Mega Man X4. This is also a game by Capcom. I kind of forgot about that. So yeah, there's another similarity you can kind of draw from this. I guess I'm grasping at straws for this kind of comparison that I'm trying to make. Either way, the Perfect Amulet and Sparda are left with Trish, so we don't have access to it anymore. Which sucks, because this next mission, it would have been nice to have that extra firepower. Well, it's not really firepower. Extra melee power, I guess I'll say. We get a good amount of orbs for beating Mundus here. And I don't know what the name of that trophy is because it kind of got cut off. Maybe the devil that went to hell? I don't know. I'm going to buy one more blue orb here just to kind of round myself off, I guess. I do have enough orbs to do so, so I'll just buy it. And we need to get out of here. Malay Island is falling apart now that its boss is gone, just as all enemy bases do. So we need to get the heck out. Luckily, the time limit is very generous. I can't really think of any comparisons where the time limit isn't generous. In other games, like, I don't know, Metroid games, I find it to be pretty easy to get out of the area within the time limit. There are a couple enemies that we have to face. I don't think this Frost is one of them, though. I'm just kind of killing it to kill it. But in the next room, we actually will be forced to defeat some enemies. They don't really take up too much of your time, though. If you get out of this area with, well, out of the underworld-looking area with about 2.5 minutes to spare, you're pretty good. At least I think so. We have a couple of these things that I don't know the name of that transform. So, we have to deal with that. Luckily, for some reason, the Ifrit Devil Trigger actually knocks them out of their big versions faster than the Alistair Devil Trigger does. Or maybe just Devil Trigger shots in general do that. I don't know. Maybe charged shots could do the trick. Either way, I'm going to be switching back to Alistair to take them on in their smaller forms. And that guy sucked up some of my Devil Trigger. I didn't know that they could do that until this point. That was a new thing for me. But now they're dead. Hopefully they could die a little faster so I could get out of here. Thank you. Well, I'm going to take the orbs first, obviously, because I'm greedy like that. But I think that's... well, there's one more room, maybe. Yeah, the room where we fought the two Frosts. And there's another Frost here that's kind of back. I don't think both of them are back, and I don't think there's a barrier in front of the door either, so if I so desired, I could just leave the area. But again, I'm greedy, and maybe the next time I play the game, I want some extra orbs. Well, there was only one. The music is kind of, you know, pumping here. Usually it's very ambient, not much music going on in these areas unless you're actually fighting enemies. I guess that's something that I didn't really talk about in this game. The music, it's not really all that. The boss themes are pretty cool. The Nilo Angelo boss theme is actually a really good song. I like that one. Fight theme is pretty good as well, but I can't really hum it. It's more a song that I like while I'm listening to it, not really... It's not a song that I, you know, put on YouTube while, I don't know, washing the dishes and listen to it during. That's kind of a weird sentence. Well, not a weird sentence, but a weird thing to say, but that's what I do whenever I'm doing some chores or something like that, doing laundry, washing dishes. I tend to listen to music, video game music, of course, and from this game there aren't any songs that I'd listen to. Maybe Nilo Angelo's theme. The previous room we didn't need to defeat the scarecrows to actually progress, but this one we actually do need to defeat the enemies that I don't know the names of in order to get through. And I killed them really quickly for some reason. I don't know why, but that was really fast. Maybe they take electrical damage, like extra damage from electricity is what I was trying to say. That might be the case. Because when I tried using the grenade launcher previously, I did get them down and they didn't really hit me, but it took a little long. Or maybe I'm just overestimating the grenade launcher, thinking that it can do a lot more damage than it actually does. And now we fall into a cutscene with a certain other enemy. Well, actually, it's an enemy we've seen before. This is Devil May Cry. Of course we're going to be fighting enemies more than once. And kind of like with Nightmare, we have to face it twice in one episode. Mundus is not done. Seizure warning right now. It starts flashing really rapidly, so I wanted to say that just in case. But yeah, Mundus. I said Mundus, didn't I? Mundus is not done. He's still here, looking all weird and really bad. Like, those textures are not good looking. But this is where we finish off the big bad of the game in this weird, like, sewer area. I actually died to him one time. Not my first time either. It was, again, here in this Let's Play, I died to him for the first time. I think I'm using a method that I didn't use previously. And this was kind of the method that I used when I died to him in a previous take, I guess. I'm using devil-triggered ebony and ivory shots. That's probably what you shouldn't be doing. I would actually recommend using the grenade launcher, dodge canceling it so that you can get as many shots out as possible. And also equipping a Ifrit, because if you run out of devil trigger, using ebony and ivory or the grenade launcher isn't as lucrative as you might want it to be. So maybe just jump on in there, do a dive kick to get in, give him a couple of kick 13s, non-devil triggered, of course, and then jump right back out to start doing damage with your guns again. Or you could do what I'm doing here and just constantly spam Ifrit in his face until you defeat him. If he gets all the way to the back of the room, you die. That's actually how I died. I took too long to kill him. I didn't actually lose all my health. And because I took too long, I died and had to waste one of my gold orbs. Yellow orbs. They're not gold in this game. That's another thing. Oh, more seizure warning. That one was a bit late, but oh well. If you have yellow orbs, you're forced to use them until you don't have any more. So the only way to restart the mission would be to actually quit the game. And then, I guess, go back into whatever save you were at before. Anyway, Mundus here didn't die, actually. He did lose all his health, but he's not dead. We need to use Trish's power to double trigger and give him a little bit of a... yeah, jackpot. I really do not like this final sequence. I would prefer it if the Sparda thing was the last thing we did against Mundus. But I'm fine with it. I just wish it was the other one. The reason I'm not fine with it is because Dante kind of he feels kind of lame. Like, it doesn't feel like his power alone is what did the job, and it really wasn't. It was him and Trish together who did the job. Even though Sparda apparently did the job before by himself. And according to Griffin, Dante is actually more powerful than Sparda. So it doesn't really make any sense that Dante couldn't take down Mundus the first time. Did I say Mundus that time? I can't even remember. Maybe it's because Dante didn't have the sword Sparda for this boss fight, so Trish was like, oh, let me give you some extra help or something like that. I don't know. Either way, I feel like this shouldn't have been the last hurrah for the game. And we get a bit more sappiness going on here with Dante telling Trish that she's actually kind of human, because he's kind of going back on his word here, but devil never cry, not devil may cry. And because devils never cry, of course, that would make Trish human, because she has the capability to cry. That's kind of his logic. As we saw, the room that we fell down into, it was just below the room with the helicopter. That's not a helicopter. That's a plane. It was just below the room with the plane, and the plane fell down luckily, so we can get the heck out of here. Again, inverted controls really suck. I keep forgetting that I have them. This part isn't too difficult though. If you press the shoot button, you're able to shoot ahead of you and destroy the stalactites and stalagmites. And if you, I think, flick the stick into two different directions, then you'll be able to perform a roll to dodge out of the way of things. But I have so much health that running into things a bit isn't that detrimental. I still had more than half of my first health bar, so not too difficult. And that's it. We're done. Another pre-rendered cutscene, hooray! And a little yeehaw from Dante. For some reason, Dante kind of goes into a southern accent sometimes. Like at the very beginning of the game, he said like, "I only take special jobs." Know what I mean? And it kind of sounded weird to me. Final cutscene. And it is very sappy, it is very cheesy, but I can't help but smile at it. I'm not a fan of sappy and cheesy stuff when I say it, but when someone else says it, and when they say it with confidence, I just can't help but smile at it. I'm like, in my mind, I think that's a brave thing, to be able to say something like what you're just saying and not be able to like crack a smile or feel embarrassed at it. An embarrassed smile, not a haha or I'm having fun smile. An embarrassed smile.
Devil never cry.
Dante renamed the sword to Devil Never Cry.
Okay.
Doesn't have as good a ring to it as Devil May Cry,
We'll be right there.
but whatever.
This one has the password.
Trish has joined Dante in the quest to kill demons, I guess. And you see here, Trish is wielding Sparda while Dante is wielding Force Edge. They both had those swords on their backs at the same time. I don't know how that works because, as we saw, Force Edge is Sparda, but whatever. Maybe it was Alice. Okay, it definitely wasn't Alistair. The hilts don't look the same. The pommels and the handles do, but the hilts are very different, and that was clearly Force Edge's hilt. But whatever. Trish is part of the DMC team now, and that's the end of the story for this game. I guess I'll give my opinions now. I think a good word to describe this game is humble. It is very much the humble beginnings of the Devil May Cry series. There's a lot of things here that don't appear in later games, and a lot of things in later games that don't appear here that you kind of miss. The things that are here that aren't in later games you kind of don't miss. Like the underwater stuff. I really did not miss that. Having to go into the menus to switch your weapons. Did not miss that. In the later games you can do stuff, switch weapons on the fly. As in both your guns and your melee weapons, you can switch those on the fly. The platforming wasn't as bad as I recall it in this game. I kind of liked it, honestly. It's something you have to get used to, and I can see people not liking it because it's something that you have to get used to, and it takes a little while to get used to it. But I don't dislike it. I guess I should say I don't mind it. As for the combat in this game, the main meat and potatoes, I don't love it, but I think it's really good. Having stuff like pause combos is super interesting to me. Inputting certain directions while locked on to perform different attacks is also very interesting to me. Like, it took a little getting used to, because compared to other hack and slash games like God of War, directional input didn't really have anything to do with anything. It was just you press a button and you performed an attack. You press another button and you perform a different attack. In this game, it's like you press a button to perform an attack, and then you hold a direction to perform an attack that's associated with that direction. Like Stinger, you hold toward the enemy, Dante will dash toward the enemy when he performs it. With High Time, you hold away from the enemy, and Dante performs a swing, which takes his sword up and behind him. So, you know, it kind of makes sense. When you start thinking of it like that, it gets easier to understand. The button layout not being changeable is kind of lame. I haven't played the original PlayStation 2 version, but I've heard that the triangle button is the jump button in that game, which is just so weird. And then the circle button is your attack button. That's like, I probably would not be able to play that game with as much finesse as I did here. Not to say that I had very much finesse here, just, you know, I wouldn't be able to play as well. But overall, I think it's a pretty good game. I would recommend it not as people's first Devil May Cry game, though. You know what? Scratch that. I will recommend it as someone's first. But when you do play it, you have to be very determined. That's something that I might say for a lot of Devil May Cry games. You have to kind of not force yourself, but want to continue playing when the going gets tough. There are my stats. I used 3 yellow orbs. I didn't find any secret missions because I have no idea where any of them are in this game. And for beating on normal mode, we actually unlock hard mode, which I am not going to be showing off. I'm probably not going to be playing another Devil May Cry game next either. We're going to have to wait a little on that one. But I hope that you all enjoyed if you did watch. And I also hope to see you for whatever next project Let's Play I have planned.